Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I am joined by my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman. I'm also joined by my pop culture aficionado. Sorry.
No, it's good. Keep it going.
Well, I'm not asking how you're doing anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
But you're just saying that you're joined by me.
But I said my pop culture
Okay,
aficionado.
that's why we're laughing.
So I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
say our, because it's weird that you're my personal pop culture aficionado.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
This is all staying in.
Yeah, so we are joined by my friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman, and my Snoochie Boochie's pop culture aficionado, Shane Christian Cunningham. Today on the show, we have James Marsden, who stars in the show Westworld on HBO Canada. The whole 10-episode season has wrapped up. The finale was just on recently. But doesn't mean you can't go back and watch it all on demand or somewhere. And that show is a lot. There's a lot to unpack. If you're into science fiction or puzzles or sentient robots taking over the world, get into it. We will get to James Marsden a little bit later because we got more things going on right here, guys. Most recently, Max, you played to like 20,000 fucking people at an arena. No, a stadium.
Yeah.
There's a difference. An arena is like the ACC.
Yeah, it's small.
A stadium is like the Sky Dome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And we were all there. We were
Yeah.
going to get into this because this is the first time we've been able to talk about this.
Yeah. It's been a crazy week. The rally is what we call the concert. I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you're probably familiar with.
Mike named the concert. Can we say that?
That's right.
Oh, wow.
We
Yeah.
should. We were talking about this last night. You were asking for a cut.
Well, it went so well. There might be other ones in the future.
Well, for our listeners, like months ago, we were trying to think about what would be a cool name for the day to kind of give it like a festival feel, not just call it the Arkell Show. Let's give it a name. And we were brainstorming. Webby D was in the house,
That's
Webmaster
right.
Dan, and we were kicking around lots of ideas.
Shaney was there too, I think. Were you in the room?
Yeah, you were in the
Well,
room.
it's
Four of
better
us.
if I'm not because I'm always the guy not producing the good ideas now.
No,
I like
no,
being
but
left out of the room.
It was a brainstorm, and we were trying to remember. I don't know
Yeah.
if you said pep rally.
Something like, do you
called the
remember how it
pep
went
rally?
down?
I remember summer school was the initial idea by Webby D.
Oh,
and
okay.
then you thought it would seem to like
Much
people
of a
don't have a
downer.
good association with school.
Yeah,
You're like, I want it to be more fun. I thought you just said rally off
I
the
might have.
get.
Yeah. I might have. Or said pep and then boiled it down. But anyway, yes, I'm waiting for my cut.
yeah. So kudos to you guys, and also another. If we really want to peel back the onion on this, is when I have a big show coming up. And I'm always thinking about the show and the bits and the banter and just every part of it. I'll often call Mike for advice on banter. So
Yeah,
there's usually something I'll say that will make its way into the set list that you have come up with. That's your copy. I don't think I did it this show.
You didn't. No.
Yeah, but you know what? I've recycled some of the stuff from previous conversations.
Oh, I recognized it.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous, but why don't you ever call me?
I feel like your type of copy is too like sort of comedy-based, sarcastic, like way left of center. It's not earnest. You don't have earnest copy. Like
Yeah.
for most of
I
the
just
stuff.
meant call to chat in general. Anyway.
Why don't you ever call me?
Well, actually, but you know what's funny? I did talk to your brother a little bit about it, who actually has more of Chain's comedy sensibilities.
Sure.
But I remember asking him I was like, I want to say something fun about like systematic, because my old introduction would be like automatic, systematic, it's grease lightning. You know that line?
Sure. And for our listeners, I did not write that one.
You didn't write that one.
No, that one needs work.
But
My
so
brother loves Systematic too. I
well,
feel
that's
like.
his favorite song.
Yeah.
So I pitched him that. I was like, I kind of want to do something in that sort of like grease lightning, something that kind
Sure.
of rhymes. And all he could think of was that Kenan Thompson skit on SNL.
Yeah.
What's the one when he keeps on rhyming stuff and
Yeah.
he's like kind of dancing around?
Oh,
Is it-
yeah.
what up with that?
What up with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, see, that's not a good idea.
But honestly, like you're giving too much credit and peeling them on your back. It's all you. It's like
But-
90% you. on
But
this.
I've learned a lot about, I think, comedy writing just from being around you guys. I really mean it, like in terms
Yeah.
of setting stuff up, because it's not my natural instinct to pull that stuff off. I always want to do it, but I don't think I'm the best at it. But I think over the years I've gotten a little bit better. So, for instance, like I was like trying to think of a line to introduce a Little Rain. So I was like, so I think what I said was, all right, there's 3 rules at the rally, and this is something that we worked out
Yeah.
like on a tour ago, but I've kind of reshaped it. I said, number 1, you got to sing. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, you got to dance. And rule number 3, you got to take care of each other. And, you know, if somebody falls down, you got to pick them back up. If your friend needs a drink, you go buy him a drink. If your friend has had too much to drink, you need to take him home.
Yeah.
And I came up with that, but like the sort of
just
form
the
of it.
construct of those
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it for you to raid Liberace's closet for those outfit changes?
That was manager Ash's idea, and I stand by it. My wardrobe changes were great. I had to like,
Yeah, it was awesome. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. It was, and it's not even like it was unexpected because you have been going that more Coldplay route.
Coldplay. I'd say more Killers.
Yeah.
Coldplay,
Okay, yeah,
There
you're
was
right.
a lot of Brandon Flowers going on up there.
Because originally you were more
a good way.
Bruce, right, with the
jean jacket.
jean jacket, but you've gone more colorful,
Yeah,
to say the least.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got those custom shop made actually for the show.
The
by-
pride
by
colors?
Toronto
The
Design.
pride
Yeah.
colors
Did you
in the leather
design
coat?
that?
Well, we went to this designer. Her name's Hendrix Rowe in Toronto, and she had a jacket that had those frills like kind of hanging off the arms. And it was just a maroon jacket, but we're like, what if it's black and it's rainbow colors? Pride weekend, and she loved it, so she made it up. Fit.
And you started wearing the jacket that's a couple sizes too small.
Yeah.
Did you get that idea when we were on set of Knocking at the Door? Remember you tried on Ash's little jacket?
Probably.
And it fit really funny, but still looked cool?
Yeah, because it's kind of slimmy. If it fits a 5'4" woman, then I'll probably like it.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of like the rule of thumb. Yeah, just really thrilled with the way the whole show turned out. Like, there's so many little details in it that kind of worked. I have no idea what the show cost. Like, it was very like kind of like expensive. Like, we were like, no, let's get pyro. Let's like the extra staging, like the sign we made just for the show, Arkell's Touring Band.
Do you cash out on that, or is this like we broke even, or are you
I
we're rich?
honestly don't know, but I do know that I don't know what we made, to be honest. But I do know that if we had just put the show on at Budweiser stage, we would have made a lot more money. But but the experience,
Because they have the infrastructure.
because they have the infrastructure. Like building a stage in a stadium is an expensive endeavor. It takes like so many more logistics and planning and just like materials.
Yeah, I heard the Tycots mascot was like $500,000 alone.
Yeah.
Oh, TC.
Yeah. He don't come
Or
cheap.
Pigskin.
Yeah. Which one? Pigskin Pete.
But it was awesome. Yeah, so we've all been kind of in shock for the last few days, just like looking at the photos and the videos from afterward, and just so many people have reached out just congratulating us on it because it was, the show was one thing, but we had all these extracurricular activities with the bike ride and the rally market, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, it was a huge community event, which I thought was really good of you guys to do.
Yeah, and like all those things, every time you take on another thing and you want to do it properly, it's just going to take that much more planning and detail and hours. And the week leading into the show, it was calling for thunderstorms. And so I was like, oh no, like we've done all this extra planning for the market and the bike ride that is going to be completely ruined if the weather's terrible. And so the whole week, people are tweeting at us like, what happens if it's thunderstorms? Is the event canceled? I'm like, and then at a certain point, I just had to stop looking at the weather reports because I was actually getting depressed, like in a way that I'm like, I was just getting so bummed out. I was complaining to my mom about it. She's like, "Oh, stop complaining about it. You're like the luckiest guy I know." I was like, "Fair enough." And so that was happening. So and the reason why I was so depressed was it was a problem that was completely out of my control. And usually, like we're in the problem-solving business when you're in a touring band. There's always shit that comes up that you have to kind of figure out how to work with, and we're good at it. But when it's something like the weather, and an outdoor show, you can't do anything about it. You
No.
just and like rain is rain. It puts people in a shitty mood. So that was happening. And then the other thing in life that is more or less out of your control is the birth of a child. And so Anthony Corona, our keyboardist, and his wife Scarlett were supposed to be were due on June 10th with their first child, and we thought that was a window big enough that we wouldn't have to worry about it interfering with the rally. But days crept closer and closer, and the baby still didn't come. So that whole week leading up, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, is Tony gonna have to like leave the middle of the show if his like phone goes off?"
Would he have left? Because there was some confusion about that. Because he did a post like, "Oh, I'm gonna feel so bad to have to miss it," and my wife and I were debating whether it was the show or it was his wife's birth.
You know what? I think what he would have done. I mean, it would have been. He did have a backup.
Father?
Backup father. Yeah. No, he had a guy who knew the parts that if he had to like leave in the middle of the show. But I was thinking, I was like, what are the chances that that baby will be born on June 23rd between 7 p.m. and midnight?
Yeah. Hey, okay, so let's say Tone had to leave. Like, let's say the baby did wait until the show and then Tone had to leave.
Yeah.
Do you give the backup dude the solo still?
No.
So what happens in that part of the show?
No, we just kind of axe it and just keep it moving.
So, but because you also had a sax player come out during that part.
I know.
So his big moment gets cut too?
Yeah. Things would have been, and Tony's such an integral part of the show too that it wouldn't have been the same. So anyway, Friday morning rolls around, they have the kid, and I'm like, thank God. And baby's healthy, mom's healthy. And so Tony came to soundcheck Friday night because that's when we soundchecked, and he was there for the whole show. And then the weather ended up holding off. So I just feel so lucky that the two things out of our control worked out. and all the variables of the show kind of went off without a hitch. And it's also like on all of our friends, I think over the years have come to know not to bug me on show days. And so I didn't get like one text from a champagne boy.
No, I didn't.
Well, you're always doing so much. You're like, well, I'm up at 6 for the community thing,
Sure.
and then I'm riding my bike to the show, and like it's like you do a lot of stuff on the day.
Yeah.
You have like a camera crew following you around. You were like kissing babies, like
When I showed up to the rally march, you guys, like, you're like the Pied Piper.
Yeah, everyone was just following you. It was really
well,
funny.
we brought our baby Lucy there, and Alex is like, it was so weird. I showed her to Max, and Max just made a face, but he was like frozen. And I was like scared because I thought Max was like having a stroke or something. But then she noticed there was a camera, and you were like holding a pose for the picture with the baby.
Photo op.
Everything was kind of a photo op that day.
Oh man! So nobody messaged you out of the champagne.
No,
booth?
it was awesome. So thank you guys.
Well, we were at our booth. We were totally like, yeah, we didn't talk to you at all. And then
I
when you
know.
showed up, we were kind of surprised.
Yeah, we're just really inconsiderate more than anything. It's not like-
We were focused on us,
Yeah.
man.
But I heard a lot of pod peeps came by and and bought merch. Tell me about it.
Well, we got to say, so when this was all happening, manager Ash reached out to all of us on an email, and she said, hey, we're doing this sort of community thing. We're doing this thing called the Market Rally, and a bunch of local Hamilton vendors are going to be selling their stuff. Do you guys want one for the Mike on Much pod?
You're smarter than everybody.
She's so smart. I was like, that's interesting. And there's some logistical things, and I didn't know if I could even be there, but Shane jumped on like immediately. He was like all about it.
yeah.
Ultimately, we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's figure out a way to do it. And so Shane and I were there from 1 until 5, and we still didn't really know what to expect. We're like, obviously, like I think a lot of our listeners came to us as Arkells fans, or maybe they found us through some of the interviews because they liked the person that was on the pod, the feature guest. But we like know the majority of people. Like Shane's big joke is like, if you want to feel good, go to an Arkells show because people like
Oh, especially one where there's 20,000 people there. Because if you have 0.5% of that audience, that's still 100 people, right? So I felt like a rock star.
people are like Shane. What? So anyway, we're like, okay, let's do it. And at the very least, if like we meet 5 people that listen to the podcast, amazing, because it's cool to like, and you're obviously listening now, and maybe you were there. It's awesome to meet these people in person, and kind of like, because what we're doing is we're talking, right, and then we're just putting it out into the world. Like when you're on stage, you're at least getting something back from the crowd. We're just kind of, it's an outward action. And then for the first time when you meet these people, and this is kind of like the live show with Catherine, it's like it gets reciprocated back, which is cool. And so anyway, long story long, it never stopped. We never sat down once we started at 1, and like
It was more of a meet and greet than anything.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And Jenna came by with buttons.
Jenna
Gregory.
Doodles, yeah.
Which was good because sometimes people, they didn't want to buy any merch. They just wanted to chat. And we felt weird pressuring them to buy something.
Yeah, we're not going to be like.
So it
buy
would get
something.
awkward when it came to the point where obviously a transaction was expected. And then they just wouldn't talk. And we'd be like, want a button? They'd be like, yes.
So they're handing out buttons.
That's the best.
And yeah, and honestly, like people bought a lot of merch, and we're so happy. And I
But
hope they like their
Lucy's college
sweaters.
fund got like $44 in it.
Was that the tip jar?
It was a college fund jar for Lucy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What are you going to use that money for, so that people know what they contributed to?
Well, if the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I don't think Lucy will be going to college, so we don't have to worry about that. I will reimburse the jar if it comes to be, but we're just buying dinner, I guess. I said I would split it with you guys, but you
No,
didn't
it's
want
yours.
it.
No. I think you should use that 40 that like our listeners kindly donated to Lucy. Something for Lucy. Think about it, and then tell us what you spent it on.
No, I will put that money aside for her should she go to college. But I think she'll be a YouTuber or something.
you should literally go to the bank and start the college fund with that 40. That will be the first seed planted, so our listeners actually felt like they did something.
Well, your brother-in-law was he was messaging Mike on Much about RESP advice for Lucy in college and stuff. So I'm using that advice too. I screenshotted it and sent it to my wife. I don't know if I responded, but thank you, Clay, if he listens.
So it was awesome, man. We met so many people, and people from Tennessee, New Jersey. There was a guy from New Jersey who's
Shantz. His last name Shantz.
Shantz. His wife, he listens to the pod so much, his wife got him a custom-made Champagne Boy shirt.
Come on, really?
I'm not kidding, man.
That is hilarious.
It was awesome. We got lots of photos with so many people.
Yeah, you recognize people just from their little avatars on Twitter, I know.
Or they say their name, like, oh, I know you.
Yeah, like a lot of people I was like, oh, have we met before? But it was just there was a woman named Holly that I recognized from Twitter.
Yeah.
And then Colin Drake,
Yeah,
I recognize him. And Allison Camps.
Yeah.
But if they're not making the same face they are in their avatar, it's hard to really make the connection.
Make
but
the
yeah,
face. Oh yeah, okay.
I never recognized you. And you know what? Like people were like these were hardcore listeners because every time Shane, like we would do a photo with them, Shane would pull up the Cobra camera.
Oh,
and
nice.
everybody was stoked. The Cobra Cam was the star of the booth.
yeah, it was
really
it was
gotten-
crazy. Sometimes I would be like, this person is obviously not a Shane fan. They're a Mike person or but I'd mention the Cobra Cam and they'd go nuts. So the Cobra really was the star. I thought like people would get overly excited about it. So I'm going to be putting those photos up on Thursday.
Okay, awesome.
So thank you to everyone that came out and checked us out at the booth. Yeah, and then we boogied on to your show and partied hard. Shane, I think I got an Insta story of you on the Mic Up Much with like 5 beer cans stacked.
Yeah,
You're boozing again, eh?
Well, I'm not going to not booze at like the biggest show of my life.
There is like a weird, and this is more of a question for you, Shane. Like, obviously we're sitting here with Max and he's Max, but like when you see him at a stadium show like that with, as you called his Liberace-esque coats on, what, like, are you like, is there a cognitive dissonance? Is there like that's somebody else? Or is it more like, oh, like I know that guy. It's just more of an extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah, it all feels very dreamlike and surreal. And it's hard to believe like I get to talk to you in real life. And it does seem like a different person on stage than when you're in here wearing your like Austin Matthews shirt or whatever, obviously. But yeah, it is weird. What does cognitive dissonance mean? Or
well, like that, like separating sort of the two, like being aware that it's like, oh, that's Max, my friend, but then also kind of being aware that it's like, oh, he's also means this to all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you separate the two? Or do you see it as one? Or does he seem like a different person?
No, I separate the two. I don't look at the person on stage in that like crazy outfit as a real person, really. Yeah. It's just like the ultimate entertainer. And then you're just like you're so regular. That's the hard part. Yeah. Because you're not, like you probably do have the craziest ego, but you don't, you don't show that outwardly or act high and mighty or anything. So it's really easy to forget that you are that popular.
Well, it definitely, I mean, it was an alternate reality for me, though, just to be clear. Like, we play all sorts of different kinds of shows. We were playing little clubs in England, so this was definitely a special occasion and not like what I normally think of myself as. Like, it definitely didn't feel like, oh, that's my life, right? Like, it just felt like I was in an alternate reality for a couple hours, which was an amazing experience. But actually, one kind of funny thing that I just remembered was, so I usually don't get buzzed on stage. I get like a little buzzed on stage if the set's going well, I'll have like a shot that's like on stage or like have a beer and I'm moving around a lot, so it'll hit me a little quicker.
Yeah.
And I was feeling really good at the top of the show, and I was like, you know what, I'm kind of gonna enjoy this a little bit more. So I kind of chugged back a beer between songs and maybe had a shot. So I was feeling just the kind of the perfect amount of buzzed. You know when you're in that sweet spot, if like you're on your second drink on a sort of empty stomach, and you're just like, it just feels.
You're not drunk, but you're feeling good.
But you're just feeling good, and I sometimes I feel like it helps my stage banter because I'm less self-conscious. I'm not tripping over my words as much because I'm not overthinking it. So I'd picked out And Then Some as the part of the set where I wanted to talk about Anthony's week because I thought, okay, this is a romantic song, something involving his wife and like love happened to him in a major way this week. I want to talk about it. So the intro is happening and I'm kind of talking about it, like trying to do my best Bono impression basically, where it's like, when Bono's always talking over like the jangly guitar thing, there's like this atmosphere thing going on. So I'm kind of doing the Bono thing and I'm talking about Anthony and how baby Oscar waited until the very last minute to reveal himself. And I look over and Anthony's like crying while he's kind of holding down the piano part as so I look over and he's like wiping tears from his face. And then because, and people in the crowd were recognizing it and the camera was probably on Tony. And I think the feedback I got was that like a lot of people were really feeling this moment because it was like, and then the kind of the punchline, not punchline, but like, it was like, and on Friday morning at 8 a.m., we welcome baby Oscar to the crowd, and the crowd fucking cheered. And as I was telling the story, though, because I was a little drunk, I started crying like a drunk frat boy.
Yeah.
Like when you when you're just like, I love you, man. And so then the song starts, and I was like kind of crying during the song.
Wow.
Like everybody was getting really emotional about it. So that was kind of a cool moment.
That was the only part I was in the porta potty for.
Oh no.
Yeah, but everyone was talking about that.
Greg and I climbed up through the stands to go meet my dad.
during that
part. So it
That's
was
funny.
like we were all kind of like that we all separated at that point. Speaking of baby Oscar, we were out having drinks last night. Shane, Max, myself, and Dan Hamilton, and our buddy Better AJ. We call him Better AJ because there's another AJ in the group, and he's the Better AJ.
Yeah, he's the better one.
And somebody made the joke that Scarlett was going for the EGOT because she's got a Tony, now she's got an Oscar.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
That is good.
Doesn't quite work once you get to the Grammy and the Golden Globe though, because yeah. And of course, after the show was the big
J.R. Diggs,
recent podcast, J.R. Diggs threw a big after party.
Which is, so I was saying earlier about how we really want to control every part of the day. And it was, if we sign up to do something, we want to do it right. Of course, there was a conversation about having an after party. And we were like, you know what? At that point in the night, we can't do anything more. Like, if anybody else wants to have an after party, they can do it. We'll show up maybe, but like we're not going to take that extra responsibility on because, then you have to deal with guest list and yada, yada, yada. So JR came to me and said, I want to throw an after party. And I said, it's a free country, man. Go throw an after party. And so he found this cool space up on like the third floor. It's not a bar. It's like First Ontario. The bank has like this patio above the Mule in downtown Hamilton. One of our favorite bars is called the Mule. And I showed up probably like 1:30. But how was it for you guys?
I mean, my experience was, so Danica and I snuck out halfway through My Heart's Always Yours, which was your last song of the night. Yeah. We were like, let's find a cab or an Uber before the rush. And of course, she's pregnant. So I was like, let's get her home and into bed. My phone was also at 1%, literally going to die. So I was like, shit. So we get her home. But I'd been talking to Sean Dawson, and he's like, I've got an extra ticket because his pregnant wife didn't want to go to the after party. So I'm like, and I didn't get a ticket. We were so busy. Shane and I didn't grab tickets to the after party. So
just knowing JR too, I refused to buy a ticket.
Of course.
So I drop her up. I get on a Sobe bike share, and I'm pretty buzzed from the party myself. Put in my earbuds, and I bike up to King William in Hamilton. And I'm gonna I know I don't have a ticket. My phone is dying. Sean stopped responding to me, so I assumed he gave his ticket to somebody else. His last text was, "It's a nightmare. Like good luck" or something like that. So I'm like, we'll see what happens, man. And I get up, and I see a couple of pod fans. They're asking where to go eat at whatever, because they were going to go to the Mule, but they couldn't get in. Long story long, I run into two other friends, and they're like, "Oh, it's crazy over there. We don't have tickets to the party." But I didn't want to be like, "Well, good luck. I'm going to go get in." I said, I probably don't have enough juice to get myself in. I would bet $1 million I don't have enough juice to get all three of us in, but I'll try if you guys want to come. And they were like, "Okay, let's go." So we go. One of them was actually Monica, who used to do Toe Jams.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she's interviewed a bunch of musicians as well. So we go over to the lineup, and literally it's a huge line. And the woman comes out and she goes, "If you do not have a ticket, get out of this line. You're not getting in anyway." And right away it's like, oh, shit, But then I'm like, and I turn to them. I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should get like a beer somewhere else and maybe circle back. I don't know. Right then, JR comes out and he's fighting with a bouncer. So he's like, JR's like,
fisticuffs? Or?
No, arguing. Sorry, arguing with the bouncer. Where the bouncer's like, blah, 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 capacity stuff. JR's like, no, it's like this, and I got these tickets and whatever. And then so JR turns around, and I just make strong eye contact, and he goes, "Oh, Mike." I'm like, and I kind of just give him the shrug because we saw him at the show and he basically said, "Come by."
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know if I'd see him, and he didn't have a phone on him, or his phone was dead. So he's like, yeah, he's in. He's got a ticket. And I was like, I'm with two friends. He's like, yeah, they're fine. So then we skip the whole line. We get right onto the elevator and then go up. So that was how I ended up getting into the party.
Well, JR said that the liquor board came like at the start of the party and did not leave.
Yeah.
So they were like really worried about capacity issues.
Yeah, it was kind of a logistical nightmare because if you could get onto the balcony, but if you had to go to the washroom, you're pretty much banished from the balcony. And you got to go back on this lineup all over again. So the setup wasn't great, but all of our friends were there from the show.
The Nut was DJing. My brother was DJing.
Yeah. And the HSR bus driver kind of picked me up with your brother Greg and Ubered me to the location. He was just like, "This is out of order, but hey, I'll drive you where you want to go."
Really?
Yeah. The only shit part was I left my wallet on that bus, but I did. And then I just got dropped off right at the stoop. Saw JR, walked into the elevator, and got in like so easy. The only shit part was I had to send my wife Alex in an Uber home because we had babysitters. And it's $70 Uber.
Surge pricing was crazy.
Aren't you flattered that you caused that massive fucking surge, though?
I know, but that's why we tried to get the free bus for everybody.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Oh, you had known that surge was going to happen.
Well, I'm not.
If you had an Arkells ticket, this is another thing, listeners who aren't from the Hamilton area or didn't know this, but if you were in Hamilton and you had a ticket at Arkells show, you drove for free on the HSR bus.
You save $2 there, and then you get fucked for $70 on the way home.
Well, you get the bus on the way home.
You could take the bus.
Yeah. So you showed up at JR's party.
So I showed up at JR's party.
The belle of the ball. The man of the hour.
And
in a more reasonable coat.
Yeah, in a more reasonable coat. Actually, it was a pretty ridiculous coat still.
Still pretty colorful.
Yeah.
Jean
You
jacket.
pull it off, though, now.
Yeah,
You
do. Yeah. Thank you. And Birchall is DJing. And he's DJing like in an office. And you know when you're kind of like drunk and you like don't, because it's like dark and just your reality is different. It turns out he was just in someone's office. Like, because it's literally just an office building.
Yeah.
And his DJ booth, in my mind, when I look back on it, was just somebody's enclosed, like glass enclosed.
Yeah. It was
office.
a weird setup. Yeah.
And he was like having a time, and he was like standing on the desk.
Oh, he was hammered.
Which is just somebody's desk. And at one point, he wanted to take a photo. He's like, "Everybody get in here! Everybody get in here!" And there's like 40 people trying to get into this little tiny office. I'm like, and JR, of course, was like so stressed out, and I think the security guards were threatening to kick out the nut for the last 45 minutes of the party.
He did come back at one point the nut, and he was like, "They're trying to get rid of me. They're trying. They won't get rid of me. They won't get rid of me." I was like, "Oh, this is getting fun now."
But the best part is that I was like, "Okay, I got to get out of here. I'm gonna go home." I go to the elevator. I press the button. It's just me and another guy waiting for the elevator. It's taking a minute, kind of making small talk. Another few people show up waiting for the elevator. Okay, making some more small talk. There's a lot of small talk, and I was pretty tired. Still waiting for the elevator. Another few people. But, okay, now there's 15 people waiting for one elevator. There's only 3 floors in this building. I was like, why is this elevator taking forever? And then I came in through the back stairs. So I said, fuck it. So I just kind of put my head down, walked back to those back stairs. Went down 3 flights, no problem. Walk home, easy peasy.
Yeah.
My friends who were also waiting for the elevator get in the elevator and we're stuck for an hour.
I saw that on my way out.
So I was thinking, I was like, man, if I had been stuck in that elevator after like the night I had, I would have been like, are you kidding me?
It was a full hour. It was jammed in.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
With like crazy fans, and it's like they're like fantasy to talk to you. And
it would just been a little bit much. I would have been exhausted. But
why did you show up so late? Because I was there, and Alex only gave me half an hour to party, so I couldn't. But I couldn't hang out with you
because after the show, obviously 20, 30 minutes to sort of just come down. That gets us to like 11:40. Then my parents were waiting upstairs in this like family friends room on the 3rd floor. So I go up there, I see them for a bit. By the time I get out of there, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to like throw my stuff in the car. It was just a bunch of stuff. And then I probably got there around 1:20.
Do you feel like the coolest guy in the world after a show like that?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Everyone, the thing is, everyone's super nice to you all the time. I remember what Julian said about like getting married. He's like, yeah, getting married is great because everyone's just like super nice to you and wishing you well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what I get all the time these days. So,
couple last things to wrap up the party.
Yeah.
Shout outs Bill Davidson, regular listener of the pod, and obviously
father-in-law to
Champagne Boy Julian. Yeah. We talked at the after party for a lot. He's a regular listener.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Enjoy talking to him always. One other thing, on our Instagram, we noticed this after the rally. Someone named Alyssa on Instagram wrote in our comments about us being at the market. She said, I was too afraid to go say hi to you guys because I never have anything cool to say and just freeze up and didn't want to be awkward. I kind of hate myself for not doing it. Emoji face kind of frowning. You make me laugh a lot when listening to the pod, and the interviews are really cool. I love it. One day I will develop social skills, hopefully. So I responded to her, and I just thought we'd give her a shout out, and just to say, anybody that like is listening to this right now, and you're our listeners, you don't got there's nothing cool to say. There's no such thing as awkward. Like, just come up to us and say what's up, man, because like it means the world to us that anybody's listening, and so if you want to come up and say hi. Come say hi.
Well, there is such thing as awkward, and it's usually me. Like,
yeah. Well, and as we've made it clear, is whenever anybody pays any attention to us, it really strokes our ego.
Of course, and we don't like Mike and I don't get like 25,000 people chanting our name every night. So to have anyone talk to me is very flattering.
Yeah. So if not for you, do it for us.
Yes, please. Right? You'd be doing us a favor.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So yeah, but to anybody, come up. And I get it. I know it can be awkward to talk to anybody, but we're down.
Yeah,
always.
Leave comments, Instagram, Twitter, iTunes. Interact. We love it.
That's right. Guys, today on the show, we have the one, the only, very accomplished actor, James Marsden.
Hunk alert.
Hunk alert.
He's a very good looking guy.
James Marsden's one of those guys that is so good looking. It's like not debatable. Like he's just so pretty.
We can all agree that James Marsden is good looking.
Because I feel like all three of us probably identify with this on some level, where most guys, you could convince yourself that I'm probably better looking than him. Like, no?
Maybe playing to 20,000 people does fuck with your ego.
Look at these ugly fucks. Don't talk to me.
No. Okay, listen. How about it? If you're in a bar, say, right, like, and you're sort of comparing yourself to other dudes,
Okay.
you could convince yourself. You're like, well, that I might be better looking than that person.
I
Like,
will admit, if I'm drunk, I am delusional.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is it. And then you think that it's like, or at least it's debatable whether you're like, well, that guy's good looking, but I can see that chick thinking I'm better looking than that guy. Maybe I'm more her type or whatever. But someone like James Marsden is like there's no debate.
You're not winning that purely aesthetic battle.
Like if you were to poll 100 people, every single person would say that he's the better looking guy than you.
Yeah.
He's objectively beautiful.
Yeah.
But we got to change these standards of beauty. Are you beautiful on the inside? And after my talk with James, I would say yes. Yeah, no, but 100%. And obviously, you've seen him in so many things like Cyclops. Boogie's Diner, Canadian TV show. Actually, off mic, I did mention it. Did I tell you this?
Yeah.
And he was like, thank you for not asking me about that.
Because I was going to suggest, ask him about Boogie's Diner, but your instincts prevailed.
Yeah, obviously, the X-Men movies as Cyclops, like I said, off the top, Westworld, which has become a very big show, but countless movies. He's one of those, The Notebook, as the other guy. I think in the research leading up to it, we were reading some pieces like the GQ stuff and prep. And I think the writer had said, he's always the guy that plays the dude that loses the girlfriend to the good guy. You know, and that's probably a function of how good looking he is.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like
You're not rooting for him.
you can't root for him because it would seem too easy. So he always loses the girl to the other guy. And by the way, if the other guy's Ryan Gosling, it's like okay, all right, yeah.
Well, that's before people realized that Gosling was a super hunk too.
Yeah.
That was the movie where he broke, and I do think it was because he showed like an inner beauty that made people think he was hotter. But then he started wanting to work out enough where he actually looked as good as people were saying him.
Worked on that bod.
Yeah. Because I don't think Gosling was really that good looking when he was on Breaker High and all that.
He's kind of goofy looking.
Yeah. I think he might have had a nose job.
Okay, so to all of our listeners, maybe you're tuning in for the first time because you're listening for James Marsden. We're going to get to him in a second, but please follow us at Mike on Much on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us everywhere you get your podcast, whether it is iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, the iHeartRadio app, on YouTube. If you want to listen sitting at your desk, we are there. Guys, is there anything else to say about Mr. James Marsden before we get to it? We cover his whole career, his philosophy on acting. I actually opened with a comment about his movie D-Train because my brother loves that movie, and so you will hear that question off the top.
Better looking in person or worse?
Better, man. He's stunning. I'm not gonna lie. Like he's beautiful. Want to get to James Marsden?
Let's do it.
Check one. We're just gonna roll.
To actually hold the mic, that's cool.
Yeah. Podcast.
Podcast.
You coined that term.
Thank you. We can use it.
Yeah, we might steal it going forward. We'll give you credit eternally, though. We can slide this so you feel you're most comfortable.
No, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. So I just wanted to start out by saying that when I told my brother we were going to be having this conversation, he said, you must tell him The D-Train was one of the funniest movies of 2015.
Well, tell him I appreciate that, and thank you for being the one person who saw it. Yeah, that was a fun role, and
what an interesting movie.
It was. Well, I think most people that if you see a buddy, it looks like a buddy film with me and Jack Black, and it's completely different when you actually watch it, which I love. But some people were like, "What? That took a turn I did not see coming."
I completely agree, but that was kind of what was the most interesting. You go, "What the? Where's this going?" And then it went there.
Right. Yeah. Some people were into it, and some people were like, "This is not what I signed up for."
This isn't what I wanted.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm glad he saw it and I enjoyed it. That's one of the movies I'm prouder of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's such an interesting and sort of like bold choice. It's so dark and weird that I guess as an actor, are those the things you look for?
Yeah, that's what's appealing to me. I mean, not always dark and weird, but just more than what you think it is.
Yeah.
There's just more. There's more depth to it. There are more layers to it, and it's that script I just thought was really interesting and uncomfortable, and it said a lot about human nature. I don't know. It was a lot of fun to do that film.
Yeah, those guys went on to do The Grinder.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which only lasted one season.
Yeah.
Those guys are making good stuff, though.
They are, man. They're funny guys, really, really smart, and a pleasure to work with on set. We were just, we would do the scene as written, and then we'd be like, all right, what other things could we do just for fun and just mess around? So that's a great creative environment to be around. They're kicking butts. It's good to see them doing well.
Yeah. As an actor, do you lean more collaborative? Do you like strong direction, or are you like, I have ideas about this character and maybe how this scene can be worked out?
It's a good question. I love both. I mean, I think if you go into it without a perspective or without an idea or a take, that's not a good place to be. I think you got to come in, bring something to the table and a point of view on the character, or kind of making it your own. And then as far as the directors, you always want to work with someone who has a plan and knows what they want. But also within that collaboration, you can be flexible with one another to sort of, go down different roads that neither one of you might have anticipated.
How important is it for the director to have a confident vision?
Very important.
Like, as an actor, that probably gives you the confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're. I mean, not to sound like a whingy actor, but you do put yourself in a vulnerable place as an actor, and you do want to feel like you're in the hands of somebody who's confident, in the hands of someone who is going to get all of this footage and get in the editing room and assemble the right performance. I mean, you are in control of you're in control of your performance to a certain degree. They're in control of the scissors in the editing room, and they can they can kind of piece it together. And so you do want to have. I think working with the best directors is the best form of security an actor can have. Is really the great actors always want to work with the great directors, because that there's a massive safety net there, and they're just going to make you better. And likewise, the directors know that the actors are going to give them performances that make them better.
Everybody shines if everybody does their part.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, speaking of great directors, I just read that you're going to be in the new Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue into that. Yeah, he's the man. Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. I mean, he's everybody wants to be in his world, and pretty cool honor to be a part of this one.
Yeah, his films are American pop culture. They're sort of littered throughout.
Yeah.
If you're into movies.
Yeah, no, and you would be hard pressed to find someone more into movies than Quentin.
Right.
I mean, he just loves making films, and he's got the energy of. I mean, I've never seen anything like his energy, and it's really there's a trickle down effect too. Like, everyone in the cast, everyone on the crew enjoy
the enthusiasm.
Just being in his field of gravity. It's like it's an exciting thing, and I never thought I would actually get the opportunity to be in a Tarantino film. So this is actually obviously very exciting for me.
How does it come about? Like, what's the minutia of, like, do you get a call?
A little bit of both. I'm sketchy on details that I can even talk about.
Sure.
Because they do make you sign a very elaborate NDA.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble.
And I didn't, I can't recall all of it at the moment. But he'd seen a couple of my specific projects that I did, and where he saw a certain thing and he liked me in it, and thought it would be right for this role.
Sure.
And then we had a conversation for about an hour and a half, and it was kind of went from there.
Well, this is what I was going to get at. What is a conversation with him like in relation to any other director? Like, what makes it a unique conversation? If there's anything you can sort of point out that you observed.
Yeah, I mean, he's what we just talked about. Is directors that come in with a vision and with confidence. I mean, it's that times 10 with him. He's just very specific in a joyful, gleeful, sort of enthusiastic way to share ideas and what his vision is, and also open to your thoughts as to what would be cool. And it's that. It's here's what I see. Here's how I see you in it, and let's go have fun.
Yeah. I want to go back a bit, and you're from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Are you a Thunder fan at all?
I am.
Nice. Are you a Hoops fan in general, or is it because the Thunder are from Oklahoma?
Well, yeah, I'm a Hoops fan. I'm more American football than basketball.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, we've had a rough couple of last few years. The fact that we can look back and see at one point we had James Harden and Durant and Westbrook. It's like, how did we not win the championship then? But yeah, so it's been a tough one. It's been fun watching Russell do crazy things and break his records. But
average triple-double,
that won't happen again for a long time.
I don't think so.
No.
And you're talking to a long-suffering Raptors fan. So
I know. Well, hey man, they were strong all year, and that was an unfortunate playoff series, but they're an incredible team.
Yeah. But because back to Oklahoma
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that weird
Sorry,
basketball
Oklahoma.
digression. No, that's my
I can
fault.
talk hoops too.
Honestly, I could do that for the next 10 minutes. But yeah, like neither of your parents were in showbiz. Was there like someone in particular, or like an actor, or something that motivated you to go to LA and try and be an actor? Like what was the impetus for you?
I think it was, when I was younger, it was everyone, when you start to get into your teens, your early teens, you examine yourself and you think, you try to create your own identity. Like what am I? Who am I? What am I good at? And I discovered being on stage and doing theater in high school and junior high, and it felt good. It felt like something I enjoyed. It felt like something that excited me, and it felt like I was relatively good at it. And so it was a nice outlet for me to explore different characters, different voices, and so that was something that I thought, wow, it's probably not realistic, but the idea of having a film career or a TV career or whatever, man, wouldn't that be great? Because I don't know if I want to stay here and get just a regular 9-to-5 job. I'm not sure I would even be good at it.
Sure.
So that was the sort of catalyst for opening my mind up to the possibility of moving to New York or moving to LA and pursuing it. And then I was just young and sort of naive and dumb enough to like
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly, right? When you're young and you're just like, hey, what's there to lose? I'm right here at the bottom of the mountain. I'm not going to fall anywhere. And as you get older, you're like, you get smarter and you can see, below you. I'm like, oh, I could fall pretty far here. So you get a little more cautious, and as you get older, you actually want to get back to that mindset of when you were young, just taking chances that you maybe wouldn't now. But yeah, to me, it's just about longevity. Like I never thought I'd be doing it. I'd hoped, but I never thought I'd be doing it 25 years later. And now you just want to go, hey, what's next? And what have I not done? And what's an interesting challenge? So these are like my own conversations I have with myself about working in the industry and being an actor in general. You just want to keep doing it.
Is there a time when you're young where you sort of realize, oh, like I'm kind of good at this? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to be an actor or musician or anything like sort of creative pursuits. Yeah. And it's like, what's the difference between sort of like hacking away at it or being an amateur and being like, oh shit, like there's a moment where you go, I'm actually kind of good at this. Did you have one of those?
Well,
did it take validation of somebody else?
I guess in any of the creative arts, we are neurotic
sure.
by nature. No one ever wants to be the one saying, I'm the best at this. I'm good at this. It's a subjective art that we do, But I guess there was enough there that was encouraging to me and my ego, but also to just me in general. Like this, I enjoy this, and people seem to enjoy watching me enjoy myself doing this. So that was enough to propel me, or to at least give me the confidence to go down that road. But you still don't get to the point. Every day from working on set, you leave work and you go, how was I today? Because you lose objectivity when you're there doing the dialogue and the camera's on you. You can get a feel for whether or not you're like in the zone and it's feeling effortless and real and interesting. But then sometimes there's so many technical things going around you. You're just that are trying to make you be bad or get out of the moment. So you do drive home at the end of the day, just going, how was that? I have no idea.
I don't know.
That's another reason why you want to be in the hands of a good director, because they're going to steer you in the right direction that you might not necessarily have the objectivity to see about what you're creating, but also encourage you to you have to, as an actor, as any creative person, I think you have to be willing to fall on your face. If you come from a reserved, careful, measured place, then that's not a lot of creativity. The ceiling is low for the creativity that can be created. Anyway.
Yeah, well, and you can read it sometimes. You can tell if somebody's holding back and not sort of giving it 100%.
Right.
But there's definitely a fear in it because
it's nerves and fear.
And who wants to go all out at the the chance you could be embarrassed or it's too big or whatever the choices are.
It's realizing that even the greats, even the greatest actors that we view as like, wow, they just make it look so easy. There's film out there of them taking a chance and it not working and looking bad. You have to be able to commit to that. You have to be able to commit to an idea and a feeling. If you just half-ass it, if you just go, oh, I think this would be a cool choice, so I do it sort of 50%, it's never going to work. It's never going to land. It's never going to have the impact that you want it to. So to be able to be in that creative space where you feel safe to take chances is the ideal scenario for any creative person. But for me specifically as an actor.
Yeah, I read in a GQ interview that you mentioned, you were driving a Porsche around, and James Dean isn't one of your guys. And you'd mentioned Matt Damon as somebody that you sort of respect, and he always nails it. Who were your guys? Like, who were your guys when you were coming up, and you're like, shit, that guy, I want to be like them?
Yeah, it wasn't that James Dean wasn't my guy. I guess it was. I think they were trying to draw a connection between me driving a Porsche and be like, oh, you trying to be James Dean?
I could read the through line.
Yeah, exactly.
That always happens with those things, man.
But there's so many people that I respect. There's so many really gifted actors out there. I remember when I was younger, it was, and it's still to this day, but Paul Newman just was someone who, I always admired the people that could do comedy and drama, and you could put them in any role and it would work.
Which is what you've sort of carved out for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was always interesting to me is what if I could have that career? What if you, that's to me, yes, a career as an actor and being able to work throughout your life as an actor is a great thing. But that's the joy of being an actor, is being able to play different characters, to be able to do different genres. That's why we do it. We don't want to just play one role our whole lives. Some people have made excellent careers out of doing that. But for me, I didn't feel like, I think my strengths were in the fact that I maybe could play, I could be somebody in a comedy, and that could work, and I could be in a drama or an action movie, and that could work as well.
Yeah, your versatility is this sort of asset to you.
So and it wasn't a plan from the beginning. It was sort of accidental in that when you're young, you take work when you can get it, and sometimes that's a comedy, and sometimes that's a drama, and then if you work in both of them, people go, oh, well, he can do that too.
We can plug him in here.
That's interesting, So now I use that as a guide. Whatever I just finish, whatever sort of tone of the character or the movie or the TV show that I just finished, I want to do something completely polar opposite. Just because it's just that much more interesting to me to do that.
Yeah. Well, acting as a creative pursuit is pretty collaborative, I think.
Yeah.
But, it's like, it seems there's also sort of a sense of competition, like whether it's sort of like landing a role or billing. How much do you get caught up in that?
I think every actor goes through their career going, this job is my last. People are going to realize I'm a fraud and I'm never going to be cast again. Jack Lemmon said it famously. Every job was like, okay, this is it. It's the last one. No one's going to, they're going to all figure out that I'm not good. But after a certain time and like you have enough projects behind you, you do feel like, all right, this, there's a family here. I feel at home doing this, and I do feel like I'm going to continue to work. If I continue to challenge myself and ask big things from myself. But as far as competition, there's people in the industry that are, there's a handful of guys that sometimes I'll lose out on a role to them,
sure,
or maybe they'll lose out on a role to me. But there's never any, animosity or resentment or major competition as far as there's roles that I look back and go, I would have loved to do that, but that guy was so fantastic. I can't see it any other way now. Those gentlemen, those actors that I'm talking about, I've met several times and have very good relations with. And
sure,
yeah. But so it's a very familial. It's a very good place to be. They're getting enough work. I'm getting enough work, and we're all doing hopefully interesting stuff. So it's not negatively competitive.
Sure. Philosophically, do you think, are you someone that tends to look at the paths not taken, like good or bad, meaning like, man, what would have happened if I didn't get this? Or, you know what I mean?
Well, I try not to look in the rear view too much, but it is difficult not to in some capacity. You look back and you think, I was really struggling with deciding whether or not I wanted to do that film. And there was something in there telling me I shouldn't do it. But there was something there that I was attracted to. And then you end up not doing it. And you look back and go, oh, thank God I didn't do that. But also, maybe it would have been a completely different thing if you were in it. And then there are other films that you look back on and go, that would have been, I didn't see that coming. That would have actually been fun to do.
Sure.
I was offered a role in the first Magic Mike, and I was like, wait a second, these guys are running around in Speedos. I know it's Soderbergh.
Yeah, great name, but premise is
and the role
shaky.
was kind of small, and I'm like, this could end up on the editing room floor. I don't know if this is, we've never seen anything like this before. Is this going to work? And I didn't end up doing it. And then you see the film like, oh, it's a massive success, and they're having a blast, and that was one you go, oh, actually, I probably I was overthinking.
I should have taken the chance.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know. Who knows if it would have been. I don't know. I think everything happens for a reason, and it worked out the way it should.
I think that's a healthy outlook. How much, I ask this to a lot of successful people, just because I'm fascinated by sort of, I guess, how one views it, but how much of a role do you think luck plays in success?
I think there's a, people will argue with me, but I think there's a good deal of luck involved. I mean, I can't honestly, with sincerity, with a straight face, look you in the eye and say that luck didn't play into me being where I am now. I think I was lucky to have parents that supported me. That was luck,
Yeah.
I was lucky to be given opportunities that some people are not, and then on top of that, it's what you do with it. It's what's the famous luck is when opportunity meets preparation or whatever. I was prepared to deliver what I can do or what my talents, whatever I could contribute when that opportunity came about. So, but luck definitely had something to do with it. I mean, I would also be lying if I said it was all luck. I mean, I'm proud of what I've done, and proud of the choices I've made, and I think that's I do give myself credit for the work that I've the movies and the shows I've been involved in and the characters I've played, and but I also give credit to my representation. They're out there finding the scripts for me to read, yeah. But at the beginning, and there is luck sometimes involved. Sometimes one of the people that we were talking about, not specifically, but like say other actors that you compete with for certain roles. I hate to use the word compete, but because it's art we're making, right? If they can't do it for some reason or decide not to, and then they come to you like, well, was that luck? I mean, he said no, and then they came to me, and it's the role I wanted, so that was a little bit of luck. It does come into play, but I could hear everyone out there going, "Oh, you're too hard on yourself. It's not luck. It's you've be proud of what you've done," and I am. But yes, I do think that there's, if you're looking at the pie chart, there is a sliver of. If you think that luck isn't in there, I would disagree with you. There's a little bit of it there for sure.
Lastly, what is your favorite role that you've ever played? I know that's a tough question, but you might have one.
Well, I mean, I guess it's how you define the question of like what's the most fun you've had playing the role.
Good question, or how it's been received, or most popular.
Right, or just, exactly. How much money did it make, or when you watch it on screen, you're most proud. I mean, I loved playing the Prince, and Enchanted was just a romp and fun, and I guess it always feels good when you read a script and you go, I know exactly what to do, and you don't doubt yourself at all. You just go, I see it. I know how this will be fun for me and how it'll be fun for the audience, and you don't question it for 1 second. And I think that was one of those experiences. I did a movie called Sex Drive that I was just doing for fun. I was like, really, do I need to be in a coming-of-age teen comedy right now? But this character in this movie, I grew up with a guy who was just like that. I'm like, this would be great, just fun. Even if no one sees it, for me to play this character, I know what his hairstyle is. I know he's got an earring in his right ear, not his left, and he's wearing these bad whitewashed pants. And, so I guess it's the roles that I feel like, all of the creative juices start flowing. Your mind starts to open up as to what would be fun. I guess maybe I look back and some of them are more comedies than the dramas. But the dramas are, they're just challenging in a different way. But that was, those are two roles. The role in Death at a Funeral was a lot of fun. I mean, just on paper alone, you accidentally take acid at a funeral and you end up on the roof naked talking to the trees. Yeah, well, it's a great role. It's fun.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The D Train was a great, was a very proud of that. So, and of course X-Men and all the other the bigger ones. Hairspray was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but it's tough to really choose. But I do, it's it's I guess a lot more fun doing a comedy. I know that's not saying anything profound, but
Well, they say comedy is harder than drama.
yeah, and I'm not one who carries a lot of real, I'm not wrought with intensity and I don't carry around a lot of like sadness and grief, and like some actors like love to dive into their private lives to like bring some of that interesting dramatic stuff to the table and in front of the camera. And I do that. I have done that before, but I'd rather just kind of have a good time doing it. And anyway, so long-winded answer there.
Hey, man, it's great. I think we got to go do this HBO
Awesome.
Live thing. But thank you so much for
Yeah,
your
that
time,
was a good
man.
chat.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the dessert. I mean, this is our first sort of, I guess, what you would call a normal dessert in quite some time, since our last two had featured JR, Diggs, and of course, Bert, Shane's 70-year-old friend. Go back and listen to those last two episodes if you want. But for now, our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Shane, what do you got for us?
Well, what makes you think this is a normal dessert? Why are you being presumptuous?
You're right. I assumed.
You have
that was
some
silly
notes
of me.
written down.
Because you did look at your notes, so I assumed,
Yeah, I don't know how to get into this one properly. So this will kind of be the last experimental trifecta.
I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Maxie has the book out. He has a phone of
know.
notes. I thought we were going old school.
Well, I will talk about what it's about and lead into it.
Okay.
And this isn't going to be some like half-hour Bert or JR interview.
Okay.
It's an hour.
Yeah. But do you remember we used to have a podcast before this podcast, Mike?
I don't.
If I was to say S&M,
Oh, was it a podcast? I thought we tried to do this as a show. Oh, no, it was going to be a podcast.
S&M podcast.
Oh, funny. I thought it was S&M
Then-
Creative Club.
Yeah,
and we were going to try and do
Creative
a TV.
Club. Yeah, it ended up becoming S&M Creative Club.
Right. And for those of you guys that can't figure it out, S&M is for Shane and Mike.
Yes. So we used to have that, and we used to have this intern named Stan.
Give a little more context. So you guys had the same job as you have now,
Yeah.
and then you wanted to do like a television show or a web series or
A podcast.
Yeah, a podcast. Okay.
Same thing we have now, just no one would listen to it probably because we didn't have you as the lure.
You always need a hook.
Exactly.
What were we going to talk about? Man, I totally forgot about that.
We were filming it too. Like I was really obsessed with the Howard Stern show and how he was doing it. So we're even filming it, which adds another layer of complication, especially if you're trying to start something.
We had a little set.
We got overwhelmed. We used your apartment
Yes.
as a set.
I remember now. Of course I remember. Peak did the logo. I don't think we had a strong conceit. I think it was just shooting the shit.
It was like a daily kind of news show, kind of what Robin and Howard used to do. So we would talk about the news.
Yeah, I think we had topics.
Exactly. This was like the precursor to this show.
Then I butted my head in there.
Well, that
And
had
made
already-
it a success. Yeah.
I think that had been dead already for like a year or so, like more than when we started.
Yeah. But we had this intern that we used on the show who was kind of funny, mildly awkward guy named Stan.
Oh yeah, I remember Stan.
And one time we were going to have Streeter's bits. Like, you know how I do digital desserts? We had a bit where we would send him out to do man on the street interviews.
Okay.
And we were like, Stan, did you shoot that bit? And he was like, oh, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. And then he never got us this video bit. And then like got to the point where literally like a month or two went by. And I was getting kind of perturbed at Stan. And I was like, I need you to give me this bit now. Like, give me the final product. He goes, I've been working on it for a long time. I've got it. I'm bringing it today. He goes, I'll be there at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. comes by. He's not there. I'm like, Stan, where the fuck are you? Like, I need this bit. We're going to review it and talk about it on air tonight. At 2:30 p.m. he comes. I look at the footage, and he's wearing the same outfit in the footage that he was when he handed me the tape. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, oh, well, people can wear the same outfits. But stupidly, in another piece of the footage, he's standing beside a newspaper rack, and it has today's date on it. So I'm like,
this was more of a TV show we were trying to
no,
do.
we were doing it like the Howard Stern show where we record it and film it and put it on YouTube.
Okay, that's funny.
I
All right.
swear,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
huge into Howard TV at the time,
Yeah, yeah,
and I was
yeah.
trying to emulate that.
So he's got the newspaper.
So I'm like, Mike, check this out. This is great. Let's kind of make fun of him on air, how Howard does to kind of Baba Booey and like his crew, like when they kind of fuck up. Like, this will be great. But anyway, after that, it never got to that, and the bit just kind of went away. And then Stan, I noticed a little bit ago, maybe a year ago, he unfollowed me on Instagram. And this is embarrassing to admit, but I have an app on my phone that tells me.
That was my next question. How do you know?
It tells me when someone unfollows me on Instagram. Editor's note, I have since removed this app off my phone as it was ruining my life. And I've had 3 really weird instances where someone has unfollowed me. And I'll explain all of them.
Yeah.
But the first is where it was actually on this podcast. We were talking about MySpace, and I was saying I still refer to some people by their MySpace name. And I said that person's MySpace name. The day after that episode aired, that person unfollowed me.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. And I was like, geez, was that offensive what I did? Or does that person think? Like, I had so many questions about it.
Is she a listener? That's great.
That I really wanted to confront them about it. It was
Oh, I know.
of course.
Are you going to leave that in?
I might have to take it out. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. But I also couldn't confront this person about it. Another instance is it was in this building again. I was walking pretty fast. And a woman was walking a little bit slower than me. So I'm speeding up behind her. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm getting too close to this woman. She kind of turns around and looks at me. And I go, oh, I'm going to get you. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it was awkward. And she just turns around, makes a weird face. And I pass her. And I'm like, geez, that was kind of an awkward encounter. 10 seconds later, I get a notification. I've been unfollowed on Instagram.
Oh, did you even know this person?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
So I'm like, geez, I would really like to talk to them and explain it. Anyway, so Stan unfollows me. I sent him a message, and I go, Stan, I noticed you unfollowed me. I made up a lie on how I realized it. and I was like, I hope I didn't do anything. And he was like, I'm just not the same person I used to be anymore, and I can't have you in my life or something. So I let a lot of time go by, like a year. And I asked to have him on the pod, didn't tell him what it was for. And I've basically confronted Stan, because this is what I've always wanted to do, and figure out the psychology of why someone unfollows on Instagram. Okay. So we get into this and we unpack it, and it actually gets pretty deep into the psychology of why people do this. And I found it like a fascinating kind of exploration into Stan's
So this is basically
brain.
a scientific study.
I never thought Stan would be in my life again. Here he is on our podcast.
He also unfollowed you, Mike, by the way.
I remember you told me that.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Anyway, we get to the bottom of that too. Enjoy. Is it a long trip for you to come down here?
No, I work overnight, so I got to go to work after this anyway. Not directly after this, but...
Okay, let me see.
kidding.
Hello, hello.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
So we are here right now.
Oh, this is it.
This is it.
Great.
Were you expecting Max and Mike to be here?
No, because you mentioned that it was part of your side segment in the desert. You were doing some interviews in the desert, and then I know that you're the way your podcast. Yeah, right.
For the dessert.
Dessert.
Yeah. So wait, do you know that we have our podcast split up into 3 sections?
Yes. So I remember that much at least.
And you didn't know it was called the dessert, though.
No, you know what? I thought it was desert. I might have gotten I saw an Insta snap of someone in the desert recently, and I might have got that mixed up with you.
Okay. Because I wanted to kind of segue into one of the reasons I was excited to get you in here. Because I have this,
really?
not a fantasy. Fantasy is the wrong word. But it's
Jesus
that's a lot. It sounds gayer than how I'm meaning it too. But I had an app on my phone a while ago. And the app would kind of tell you if someone had unfollowed you.
I know where this is going. Let's talk about it. When I unfollowed you, you're such a sweet guy. You reached out and you're like, hey, man, like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? That's when I had replied to you like, hey, man, like, just what did I say? I'm like,
you was like, I'm not the same person I
Yeah.
used to be. And this, which actually made me feel worse. Do you cut people out of your lives often?
No, I wouldn't say cut. If someone won't, yes, I guess I do.
Would you say you're a pathological liar then?
No. Okay, so look, I'll cut people out of my life only to better myself. If I have someone in my life that's like bringing me down, like, I'll cut them out. I'm sure a lot of people do that these days, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of toxic people out there you just want to cut out.
Whoa, like, did I make you a bad person?
No, I definitely feel like when I look back at my time as a much creative intern,
Yeah.
like I felt like there were people here that kind of put me down, which was definitely not you and Mike. You guys, like, you brought me in with the S&M podcast, and I was helping you guys out with that, and we would joke around and whatnot. But I definitely feel like there was people in the building. I won't say much creative because there were people in the building that were kind of like putting me down. I don't know if it was because I was an intern or whatnot.
Could you name the top 5 dicks who are in the building?
I cannot. I'm not going to do that. That's something old Stan would do.
Okay.
Current Stan's not going to do that. Maybe future Stan will do that.
Off air, will you tell me?
Maybe, yeah. But it's a two-way thing as well. I felt like I was this reckless kid that had, got his first taste of being in like the media business. And what I was basically doing was I was faking it to make it.
How old are you now?
31.
31, wow. So when we met, you were 27.
Right? Anyway, so where did I leave off?
That there was people who had wronged you in the building. You were just
right,
about to say their
but like
names.
I've wronged people as well, right? Like it's a two-way thing. And like whenever I thought back to that time of my life, it was like, you know what? This shit really makes me depressed. And so I unfollowed you, but I didn't send you a message like, hey, fuck you, man. I unfollowed you. It's sort of just like when I saw like posts from you guys, it would remind me of when I was an intern here. And it was just like stuff like that I didn't want to see on my feed.
The odd part to me was you were liking the photos.
I did like them up till the point where I unfollowed you, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point it was like, that's when I felt that way.
Did one photo set you off where you're like, that's it?
I'm glad you brought that up. What it reminded me of, seeing all the photos of like you guys on the podcast and stuff. At first it was cool. Like I would like it and stuff like that. And then it reminded me of like what made me depressed.
Wow.
Just like remembering all that stuff, man, like how I wronged you guys. To get past that, I had to just unfollow you guys for a bit. And it also had to do with me not finding work in the industry for the longest time. I would do these odd jobs, and then all of a sudden, because I'm a socially awkward guy, a lot of people would interpret that as me being a dick. There are times where like I couldn't stare people in the eyes. Like I had like I was that socially awkward. Like I would just be like talking to someone, I couldn't stare them in the eye for too long. I'd have to look away.
I have trouble with it to the point where I'm either not looking enough or I'm looking too much like a psychopath because I'm focusing on it.
And plus I had broken up with that girl, so...
Who dumped who?
She dumped me.
Oh, shit. If you guys were feeling great and everything was going good in the relationship, would I have retained the follow?
It's hard to say.
But you think probably?
I think
if you had to bet on it?
I think so. Because it's kind of like things stack up, you know? You think about one part of your life, then something's happening in your current state.
Do you still follow her on Instagram?
No.
Does she follow you? No?
No contact.
Does it get to the blocking level or no?
Yeah. I think I blocked her on like Facebook. She blocked me on like Instagram.
Do you have a closed profile or open?
My profile's open.
Which it would be why you need to block.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. For the longest time, though, I did have it as private, but I was like, you know what?
Yeah, you get more followers if it's open.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who are looking to stay followed and not get unfollowed?
Man, don't fucking post too many pictures from the gym.
When you cleaned house on your Instagram, how many people were part of this exodus?
Probably like 20 or 30 that I can remember, I think.
But was I one of the first or more at the end? Was I more of an afterthought? Like, oh yeah, Shane too.
I don't remember.
How many people reached out to say, hey, what's going on, Stan?
People found out that I didn't follow them, sure. Like, I had a feeling they did because they would just message me out of the blue saying, hey, how are you doing these days? And, like, it's someone that I do not keep in touch with at all. Someone like I met, like, a few times. When I got on the right track again, I saw that he had Instagram, and I followed him. He followed me back, and I think I still follow him now.
Wow.
But we don't talk.
Will you be unfollowing people in the future?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, no doubt.
I have a rule that once I start following you, I'm with you for life. I never unfollow.
Wow.
When all these people unfollow you, it kind of makes you feel like you're doing everything wrong.
Sorry to interrupt, but for some reason that reminds me of this time that I had my birthday party over at the office pub.
Yes.
And because I was an intern and like straight out of college, I had like no money. Like I had money. I wasn't like poor.
Yeah.
But like I wear like the same clothes every day. It came to a point where my birthday was coming up. I had this party at the office pub.
Yeah.
But for that night, I had bought a new pair of clothes with the money that I had got from being an intern.
Oh, yeah.
And then I bought like this Kangol hat. And I remember it's the funniest, like I'll always remember this because it was so funny. You showed up and you're like, hey, Stan, what are you, Samuel L. Jackson now? And I'll always remember it was the funniest thing ever.
But wait, it's funny now, but at the time were you like, you're being a dick, Shane?
No, I thought it was hilarious.
Okay. Did you end up returning that hat?
I have more of those hats, in fact.
Right.
Yeah. There's another funny story, which I'll get to later, about me encountering Mike on like a set.
Can you tell me it now?
I'll tell you it now. And it's a pretty funny story, I think. But I also feel like I was being sort of a dick. Not really a dick, just like a young punk.
I can't wait to hear this.
Mike was directing a spot for Coleman Hell.
Yes.
And they were like breaking these big sheets of glass.
Yeah.
I showed up with my cousin, Sean. Sean's a cool dude. We showed up with him. We were sitting around for most of the shoot, but, you know, we were doing work. We were sweeping the floor because there was a lot of glass on the floor, like safety glass, I think it might have been.
Yeah.
Might have been
Safety
like made out of
and
sugar
real.
or something.
Yeah.
So we were sweeping that stuff up. We were pulling cables, all sorts of shit. And then we were chatting. We were talking to Coleman Hell's entourage. And they're cool dudes. They were just like, I guess they were like high or getting high or something. And I was chatting with Coleman.
Yeah.
And then Mike came up to like direct him for the scene. Mike's like, okay, we're going to shoot here. We're going to get you here. And then I made a stupid joke. I'm like, hey, Mike, I ripped one of the cables or something. And then he looked at me like he was pissed or he was angry. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, I'm just joking. And then Coleman found it really funny, which didn't help because he laughed out loud. And then Mike just walked off. And I'm like, oh, shit. I made Mike angry.
Mike's got a hot temper, let's face it.
But when Coleman laughed, that's when I knew that I had made it.
Was there anything that Mike did to wrong you?
No, Mike's, like I said, man, it wasn't any of you two. You guys were super cool. It was just the reminder of my time here at Much as a whole.
What do you feel like you could have done that would have made you feel like your time here was better used?
Put myself out there more in terms of like goals for where I want to be in the future. Man, I wouldn't mind writing. I'd love to do like just stand up just for fun at like Yuck Yucks or whatever. I might be doing a YouTube channel soon. Nothing crazy, just like unboxing videos and stuff like that.
What are things you'd like to unbox?
So I recently, I don't know if you have checked out my Instagram recently. I bought this. I
unfollowed you actually. So
great. What did I do something to you, man?
We'll talk about it on the next pod.
Save for the pod.
But yeah, I guess this is what was my main goal here, to discuss that and get to the root of it.
I'm so glad you didn't tell me ahead of time, because then I would have been even more nervous than I am now.
Oh, were you nervous about this?
A little bit. I mean, like, I've listened to your podcast in the past, but I've missed like a shit ton of episodes. I had no idea what was going on, and then you had mentioned dessert, but which I thought was desert.
Yes.
So I'm like, what is he going to ask me about the desert? And then to show up, it was a pleasant experience being here.
So this was good.
Fucking great.
Okay, and you're gonna stay away from that unfollow button.
Yeah, I mean, I still like unfollow people, but like it's
Not
celebrities
me,
and stuff like that. Yeah, like we're good.
All right,
We're good, man.
Thank you. Hello. 1 second. What did you just say you want to do?
Take a Polaroid photo of me and Shane for my Instagram. What's wrong with?
No, because that's funny that now you want a photo.
Why is that?
Because you unfollowed me from Instagram. Now you want a photo with me.
Yes. I guess that's pretty funny.
That's it. That's all. That's our episode. You just heard Stan the Man. If you want to follow him on Instagram, it's @StanleyJude_. So go check him out.
Mike on Much podcast can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. Subscribe to the show on iTunes. Tell your friends about it. Spread the gospel. Huge thank you to Tara Gregory and Tara Gregory.
Have you done that before?
No, Jenna Gregory, Tara Paquette for putting together all the artwork.
Much appreciated. And everybody that helps put this podcast together. Thank you to James Marsden for sitting down with your boy Mike V. Mike on Much podcast produced by Max Kerman. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.